Hello my friend, it's Cami from the blog TIDBITS. Today I've got kind of a fun topic to just chat with you about. I'm going to cover at least 35 things that we do not buy in order to save money as a one-income family. So as you may know, we retired my husband from his engineering job about a year ago and are just trying to grow our family business and work under this now one income where we used to have two. So in the last year, we've had to cut back on a lot of things and it's actually been great. I've actually been able to kind of edit out the things in my life that I was buying and spending money on, and we have seen a significant reduction in spending. And so I want to share with you these 35 things that we don't buy or buy extremely rarely in order to save money and be home together as a one-income family. I just first want to put it out there, I have absolutely no judgment towards anyone if they buy these things that I've mentioned we have cut out of our lives. I know we're all just in a process and journey, but the main focus for us in kind of editing our spending in this way is to, one, of course, spend less, but also to live a healthier lifestyle. So we need to cut out spending in certain areas in order to maybe be able to afford more organic produce, organic foods, raw dairy, animals that we have on the farm, maybe things that we need for food preservation. So in order to kind of shift our lives that way, we've had to cut spending in other ways. But I'm really, at the end of the day, we look at our finances and say, you know, we are better off, we're more self-sufficient. And by removing some spending in our lives, it really has bounced out quite well for us. So I really hope this is helpful for you, can give you some ideas or maybe motivation to find ways to save so that you can spend your precious dollars on the things that will help you support your health or your goals or anything like that. Okay, I've got my little list here that I'm gonna go through hopefully quickly. I will mention this video doesn't really have any like B-roll or things for you to see. It's just gonna be me chatting with you. I call these kind of my podcast videos. I don't have a podcast platform, but sometimes I just wanna chat with you. So there's really nothing to see. If you just need to prop up your phone, do the dishes, fold laundry, go about your day, drive, whatever, you can just listen to this video and hopefully glean the information that way. These things that I'm mentioning that we don't buy, we're probably not 100% perfect. Maybe some things we are, but they may happen occasionally. But this is where we have noticed the most savings in the last year as we've tried to cut back. So I'm gonna address 3 categories. We'll first go over food. That's a big one for a family of 6. And then more like household and personal items that we've cut back on. And then I want to talk about like general lifestyle things that we don't spend money on. So let's go through those 3 categories and hopefully get some ideas. All right, first of all, we don't do fast food. And really haven't done that for more than a year. It is extremely rare. Like say we're on a trip and that's all that's available. But we just don't do fast food. I find that if you do fast food, of course, it's not good for you in general, but if you get in the habit of just like, oh, I don't feel like making dinner, let's hurry and run down and grab some burgers, or if you get in that habit, it's been in my experience that you end up spending a lot of money, even though it's cheap food. It really does add up. And if you just like cut that out of your life, you'll find that you just find ways to make meals that are even faster and more nutritious. So we just have a general rule. We don't do fast food. Sometimes my kids are with friends and they go to like Wendy's or McDonald's. They have no idea what to order and they think it's disgusting. So it's great to just not raise your kids on that food and they just won't get in the habit of it. And hopefully that will serve them their whole lives. Now, of course, they may like, you know, a milkshake or something like any kid would, but it's just not something we spend money on regularly, and I think we save a lot by just avoiding that at all costs. Along that same line, we have reduced how much we eat out. Now, when my husband worked, and for a while after he retired, and I do have a video on that if you want to hear how we retired him at age 40. It's just a little side note there. I'll link it below. But when he did that, we kind of looked at our budget and realized we were spending a lot on eating out, and that was because we do a regular weekly date, just my husband and I, and that is when we would actually eat out. And we wouldn't do fast food, but we'd do more nicer sit-down restaurants. And that was really adding up. And so we decided to cut back on that. We either do once or twice a month. If it's a date night or we just need time together, we'll just go for a walk or run some errands or any other kind of activity that doesn't cost money. So we're trying to reduce the cost of our date nights and how many times we eat out. And actually, eating out weekly was getting to the point where it's like we got kind of sick of the restaurants. This way, it's like a super big treat to go eat out and feels really special. So that is one thing we're spending less on. Another thing we no longer buy is any kind of like packaged breakfast convenience food, I guess. When my husband worked and I was trying to juggle 3 meals a day plus snacks, plus kids going to school or their activities, I actually relied on packaged breakfast quite a bit. I tried to make the most healthiest choices I could. I liked doing like those Kodiak cakes because they were whole grain, or I would buy more whole grain cereals. But we have cut that out of our lives almost entirely when we make breakfast from scratch. And I'm telling you, that saves so much money. And it is just so much more nutritious to start out the day. So we no longer buy any kind of like packaged breakfast. It's all like eggs, skillets, oatmeals, and things like that. Anyway, we just have cut that out, and yeah, it's more work, but we're able to kind of manage it with both of us home, so that's helpful. We have also stopped completely buying any store-bought beef. My husband raises a couple cows every year, slaughters one of them to stock our freezer with beef for the year. It's 100% grass-fed beef, loving pets that we have raised and know what they're eating. And then we sell the other cow to kind of help with the cost of that one. So basically we feel like we get a whole cow every year for free. Of course, there's effort in there, but beef is super expensive in the store and you never know what they're being fed. And so that has cut down a ton of cost. And we're eating like really nice beef. Like, we had a Sunday dinner the other time and my husband was saying that these steaks we were eating, they were to die for, delicious. He's like, these are probably like $30 steaks. And I'm like, delicious and pretty much free for us. And so that is a great way to cut costs as a family. I do hope someday to get to the point where we're not buying any chicken, because I like to buy organic chicken and it's expensive. So we're playing around with different chicken breeds and finding out which one tastes the best. So hopefully we'll be able to cut out that meat cost as well. Now, I find that I no longer buy small amounts of food. I really am buying in bulk from like places like Azure Standard, or I go to Costco. Buying in bulk, I know it hurts when you're like spitting out $400 or $500 for these bulk shopping trips, but it cuts your costs down throughout the month so significantly, and you're stocked up in case of emergencies. So just don't buy small packaged foods. Like if you go and buy a small package of whole grain flour, that costs so much comparing to buying a 50-pound bag of wheat berries and grinding them yourself. So you really can save a lot of money that way. Perhaps along the same lines, we're not buying processed foods or convenience foods. This has made a huge difference in not only our health, but our budget. So we're not buying fruit snacks, granola bars, any kind of like packaged processed food. Even if they're organic and somewhat healthy, those can cost a lot. But I just find if you have those like quick packaged snacks at home, your kids will just grab them all day long, and pretty soon you're out, you gotta go restock. It sucks up your food budget so quickly. And I guess I should probably do a video on what we do buy instead, but basically we're buying food, ingredients, nothing packaged, if we can avoid that. It does mean I've got to make my own granola bars from scratch, or granola, or fruit leather. It means we're making more food, but that's just the lifestyle we've chosen, and we really want, just for the health of ourselves and our children. So I really avoid the aisles in the store that have crackers, anything like that. I just don't buy them. Something else that I feel like really saves us is that we don't buy soda, coffee, specialty beverages. I just don't buy them. And anything that's like addictive, like with a lot of sugar or caffeine, we just do not buy. And if we consume it, it is like a super rare occasion. And I used to work at grocery stores, and I would see people just fill their carts with soda beverages and spend so much money on it. And I'd wonder how fast they'd go through it and how terrible it was for their bodies. So to just like not have those things. We drink water like it's going out of style, and that makes us feel good. We just don't have those specialty drinks in our home, and I think it saves a lot of money. We don't buy a lot of canned products like canned beans, canned pumpkin, and that has been better the last year because we had such a good garden, and my husband actually loves to can, so we have bottled our own pumpkin puree, which we use a lot. Beans we buy in dry form and then cook them in the Instant Pot really quickly. So we really have cut back how much canned products we buy and use, and I feel like that's been helpful. We don't buy a lot of produce from the stores when it's garden season. We need to get better at getting a bigger garden and preserving more to last us throughout the year, but the garden is already starting. Our lettuce is growing great. We got carrots. So I'm really trying to cook with the seasonal produce that we have and not buy so much produce from the store, because I do buy organic and that gets expensive. So if we can just block out, 4 or 5 months of the year where we're just eating from our garden, it's a lofty goal, and we're working to get better at that. But I'm trying to just buy things in season when they're discounted at the store or we have them at the garden. So I don't buy salad dressings or bottled sauces that you can get from the store. I've just found it to be more healthy if we make our own. You can use your own oils like olive oil or almond oil or avocado oil and mix in spices and just really easily make your own salad dressings or sauces to flavor your food, and that can save a lot of money. Now, I've made it a goal this year to not buy bread from the store, so I am trying to home make all of our bread, and I feel like that's saving a lot of money because I buy the flour or the wheat berries in bulk and then make sourdough bread at home. I'm sure there will be an occasion where we buy a loaf or two, like for a picnic or going out of town, but so far I've been really good at not buying bread from the store and having this goal to make all our bread homemade this year. I'm actually really enjoying it. On that same note, we don't buy like treats from the store, candy bars, no way. Like the little pastry packaged things, we just do not buy those treats. If we want a treat, we are making it from scratch at home, which is just so much better anyway. All right, that kind of covers all the things I wanted to touch on food. That really is a big topic, and I feel like I could use a whole nother video to follow up with the things that we do buy. If you're interested in that, please let me know, because I think this video almost needs that kind of follow-up to show you. We've cut this out of our lives, so in return, this is what we're doing. But hopefully I'm touching on a little bit of it so you can see that. But anyway, let's move on to household and personal products that I've stopped buying. I have saved a lot of money by cutting out commercial cleaners or packaged cleaners. I've been making my own laundry soap. I showed you a recipe where I use soap nuts for that, and it's very economical. I also love to use the Force of Nature all-purpose cleaner. That's so inexpensive once you buy the unit, and then you just need these little capsules to make the cleaner. That has saved me a lot of money, and I feel does a really good job at cleaning. Or I'm just using, a rag to clean the bathroom or something like that. Like, you really don't need a lot of cleaners. A lot of times you can just make it at home with vinegar or infusing your citrus pills into vinegar. So just getting in the practice of not buying anything on the cleaning aisle has been really helpful for our family. Also, because there's a few of us that are super sensitive to chemicals. So I have just tried for the last, I'd say, 10 years to cut out toxic chemicals in our home. So that can make a huge difference. We also try to save a lot of money in buying clothes for our kids and ourselves by just avoiding like name brand stuff. I would say the exception is my husband. He does get a lot of Carhartt clothes, and that's because he works really hard outside and does a number on clothes quickly if they're not really high quality. So every year he usually burns through about 4 or 5 pairs of jeans, and we go and restock them for him, and then they last the whole year. So, I mean, that may be like the only like name brand stuff we buy. Everything else, I'm just, you know, simple t-shirts for my kids. Just, oh, my daughter, we went to Sam's Club and found these pants and shorts that were like $6, $8. They were like on the clearance rack. So I really just avoid kind of the trendy clothing stuff, name brand stuff, and really try to save. When you've got 6 people to dress and kids are growing so fast, you really kind of have to do that. For the most part, I have stopped buying paper towels, and it's usually because I run out. They are really convenient to have, but I run out and then forget to buy them for months, and just find that you can live without paper towels pretty easily. You just may have more rags to wash. And then speaking of dish rags, I haven't bought new dish rags for probably 6 or 7 years because I invested in the Norwex rags. They are so good, you guys, and I know they're a lot for a rag, but they hold up. And I am just like so glad. I'm probably about a year away from needing new ones, but they have lasted so long. And that's just an example of if you buy something really quality once, a lot of times that can last you a long time and you're not having to rebuy and replace. Also, we don't spend a lot on makeup or cosmetics. I'm kind of a what you see is what you get kind of person. I just do not invest too much time and money into specialty cosmetic products. I use mascara, a little foundation powder. It's the Alma brand. I'll link the stuff I use below. And then I've just trained my girls to do the same. We may have chapstick or some lip gloss, but like we keep our cosmetics so simple. Sometimes I see these makeup tutorials and think, oh my word, even if they're just buying from the drugstore, that's so much money on cosmetics. So I probably should do you all a favor and doll myself up more, but that's just not who I am. So like I said, what you see is what you get. Very little makeup, and I keep my cosmetics pretty simple. So that saves a lot of money and time. And then hairstyling. I actually used to love to color my hair. I like it a little bit richer and darker. And I did that for many, many years, just a simple all over dye. And my girls have wanted to kind of play around with dyeing their hair, but it's expensive. Like for a dye and a cut, you're close to $100. And that was one thing I just decided I'm not gonna do anymore, or for a very long time, since we're on one income. It just is not how I wanna spend $100. So I do have a little grays, you know, I'm pushing 40 here in a couple years. So, I mean, I would probably look better and younger and more vibrant, but that is just not how I wanna spend $100. So I have cut out that cost. We just get really simple trims every once in a while. And since it's like garden season here, something that we have done that's made a huge difference is we're buying seeds instead of like full plants from the nursery, and we're starting them under grow lights and in our own home. We're starting them early outside. So just by not buying plants from a nursery and starting plants ourselves, I've just been amazed at how much money that saves. And then plus we have extra seeds for the next year. So that really is a good way if you're into gardening and growing your own food to save some money. All right, last section I want to talk to you about is kind of lifestyle stuff that we have adopted or adapted into our lives to save us some money. Some of these things I'm hoping are not forever. But for right now, while we're trying to figure out how to live under one income, these are the things we are not buying. And one of those is like vacations and big trips. I'm really not super proud that this is not in our lives. I feel like we need it, but for now we have so many like landscaping projects to pay for that like going on an elaborate vacation with our kids is just not feasible. And I hope, like I said, I hope this isn't forever. I hope we can splurge and do more things with them. But when you choose to live under one income, those things sometimes need to go. When we had 2 incomes, we could splurge a little more on those, but we've just decided that's not the season of our life right now. And we've got to be okay with that and hopefully make this from home business work better for us so that we can enjoy more of those trips with our kids. But I mean, just by like choosing not to use the money in that way and instead doing more like staycations or exploring your area around you more to find fun with your family, it's just really a really easy place to cut money and save. I have also found that we do not spend very much on our kids' education, and that's because we homeschool. That might actually be reversed of what you might think. You might think if you homeschool, you have to like buy all the supplies. But actually, we have found that since homeschooling for the last 3 years, our education costs have been cut significantly. We don't have like school fees, and I know in elementary school we didn't have a lot of that, but once our kids got into middle school and high school, I've heard those fees are quite a bit, so we don't have to pay those. I used to, before my husband came home, I used to hire a tutor to actually help me with homeschool, like an hour or 2 a day, and that added up. But I needed that help at that time, and we had the 2 incomes to be able to afford that. But that is one thing, once my husband got home, we cut out, so we no longer hire educational help, and we just do it ourselves, and we learned to manage that together, and that saved us a lot. And when your kids don't go to school, you also don't have to buy like school lunches and supplies that they may need for projects, so that can save. And of course, homeschooling has some cost, but we are really blessed to live in a state that allows these online charter schools to help with that. So we are actually enrolled in an online charter school that just helps us get our taxes basically back for the education taxes that we pay. So basically they help us get money to put into our kids' education here at home. Of course they monitor it and we can only be reimbursed for so many things, but this helps cover things like piano lessons or swimming lessons or even like school supplies and books. So by getting that help and not having to send our kids to school and pay those fees, I feel like we have saved quite a bit. We have been really tempted to buy things like ski passes or park memberships, but we have just chosen not to do that for this time. And I feel like that has saved us quite a bit. So instead of like going to museums or theme parks, we just go hiking around our area. There's so much hiking. That's one of our favorite things to do. So we find other ways to have fun and be together and learn without spending money on those kinds of things. Now, we live the DIY life, as you know if you've been following me for like the past 10 years. So we do not hire a lot of like contractors or help around the house. We really mostly do that completely ourselves. And of course that saves a lot of money, not time or effort, but the DIY life is a big money saver. At this point in my life, I don't buy toys. Like we do not buy toys, or my husband doesn't buy like recreational toys like snowmobiles or 4-wheelers or those kind of things. Like we're just not in the place to do that. That is not part of our budget, so we don't buy those things. Instead, we just enjoy nature and find other ways to play. We have also cut way back on the money that we spend for gifts. If you were with me last Christmas, you know that we made a goal to not buy any store-bought gifts. We did everything handmade. It was a beautiful Christmas, and I believe we'll be doing that again. But also when like friends or family's birthdays come around, I just send simple cards, or I'll just like clip some flowers outside, go over with a bouquet of flowers, make them some bread, So I'm just trying to avoid buying gifts from the store and instead doing more meaningful gifts that way. We don't spend a lot on extracurricular activities for our kids. This has not always been the case. I used to sign them up for like every summer camp I could come across, or feel like they all needed to be in some kind of music lessons at all times, or have all these things to do and busy their time. Well, since my husband's come home, that has just kind of been cut out of our lives, and they are signed up for very few things. And it's amazing. You like reclaim your life by not, having to drive them everywhere in the first place. But like, kids find other ways to learn about the things they're interested in. If they want to learn guitar, they get online. There's just other ways for them to learn. They don't have to like be signed up for all these activities. And when you cut that out of your life, I mean, the savings is just huge. So we no longer spend a ton on gas because my husband doesn't go into work every day. So his work used to be about 20-minute drive. And then he would have to kind of drive for work around. And so add that to like what I was doing to drive my kids around, we were spending a lot on gas. And since we're both home, that has been cut back significantly. We do now have a daughter that drives. She goes to a couple classes at the local high school every day and also has a job. So she is increasing the gas cost recently, but she has a job, so she's paying for it. So we just feel as a family, we've really cut back on how much gas just by not having that work travel cost. All right, next up, and I don't know if you've noticed this if you follow me along, but I have not been spending very much on like big makeover projects or house projects, and that's just because we just don't have the wiggle room in our budget right now, or I'm trying to save up. So normally I would be like, I feel like swapping out a rug, I'll swap out a rug. Or I feel like a new season rolls around, I need to go buy new pillow covers. I legit used to do that because we had 2 incomes and I could do that. But I no longer do that, and I have to work with what I have. It pushes me and challenges me in different ways that I hope is inspiring to you guys. But I mean, it does limit, like, I don't feel like I can do a whole lot of new like room makeovers and seasonal tours because I'm really not swapping our home stuff out as much as I used to. Maybe someday there'll be more leeway for that in our budget. But right now it's not a priority, so I'm not doing it, and it saves a lot of money. I used to have monthly or every other week cleaning help. So when Hubs was gone, and I was trying to manage it all, growing a business, homeschooling 4 kids, like that was an absolute necessity for me. I needed cleaning help, and it was like a sanity saver. And if you do that, no judgment. In fact, I'm extremely jealous. But it's just something that we immediately cut out of the cost of our living once my husband came home, because now we all pitch in. I never really have like a full clean house like I used to, but that's okay. We just all pitch in and do what we gotta do to keep mom sane. Okay, if you've got a little bit older kids, this is definitely going to be something that you need to think about, but the kids have a lot of wants. Maybe they go to birthday parties or activities. We make them earn this money, and we do that by they raise goats for the fair every year. That gives them quite a bit of money. My oldest has a job that she goes to, and luckily she can drive herself now. And then my other teenager babysits a lot. So we're just really encouraging them to make their own money, and in that way it kind of saves on the family budget and allows them to learn some really important life skills. So I no longer really buy what my kids want and even need most of the time. I'm encouraging them to buy their own clothes if they have enough money, and that really has just helped our family overall. Okay, just a few more here. We do not pay car payments. We have made that a lifetime goal that we buy a car full price. They're usually 10-year-old cars, and they work. They get us where we need to go. But by not having a car payment or feeling like we need a new fancy car, that saves a lot of money. I honestly don't know how people manage car payments and mortgages. I just can't imagine. So we did have to do it once because we simply did not have enough money for even the 10-year-old car, but paid that off as quick as we could. Same goes for credit cards. We do not have credit card payments. Those monthly payments just really add up. And along that same line, I no longer pay for Netflix, Disney Plus, and a lot of the online streaming services that we used to have. I've gone through my budget and cut out a lot of those subscriptions. Even if they're like $6 a month, they add up. Or I would like add the Hallmark Channel and forget that I have it. So really, one thing I'm doing is just not buying those monthly subscriptions as much as possible, and just have as few as possible that we really need and really use and actually like contribute to the happiness of my children. So just cutting out those streaming services, you'd be amazed what a difference that makes in your mental health and your budget. All right, the last one here I want to talk about is healthcare. There is really a lot of ways to save and cut back there. So we got the most basic healthcare plan that we thought we could get by on as a family. And that does not include dental or eye coverage. So we've made sure that instead of like daily disposable contacts that cost a lot more, we've moved to like monthly ones for the kids. And then also at the dentist, I had just told them like, we don't need x-rays every time we come in. Let's just do those every 2 years. That has worked out great. And I feel like it's probably healthier. But I do want to say like all these things like food and lifestyle that we have cut cost on and have opted to spend the money on healthier choices. I have noticed like our bills for health coverage have drastically gone down. In fact, every time we like go and do taxes with our accountant, he's like, okay, what'd you spend on medical care? We're like, nothing. He's like, wow, you guys are healthy. But really, I feel like by trading in healthier choices, you're actually saving yourselves on medical costs. My brother was also talking to me the other day, and we were in supporting my mom through a surgery, and he's like, don't you get nervous before surgeries? I'm like, I've never had one. And I know this isn't all, something that we can control. And I'm just so grateful to the Lord for blessing us with good health at this time. But I also work really hard to keep good health for myself and my family. So I feel like in doing that and making these sacrifices in other areas actually frees up so much money, especially when we're talking about healthcare. And this is a long-term gain. I'm feeling like the things I'm doing now are actually going to benefit me for years and years and years down the road as I age. So that's something to think about if you're like, I can't cut out all this stuff. I don't have time to make food from scratch. Really, all these better choices that we can make in our spending really will benefit us in the long run. All right, my friends, I think that sums it up. I think I've chatted long enough with you today. I would love, absolutely love to hear in the comments ways that you save and things that you used to buy or maybe don't buy anymore. I would love to carry on this conversation with you and connect with you and help others get ideas from you about what you're doing in your life to save some money and to support yourself that way. I do find it a little uncomfortable to talk about money, but we have learned so much this last year by seeing what we can cut back on and spending, and it's been a huge blessing. So I really wanted to share that with you. And I thank you for tuning in today to my video podcast. I hope you have a lovely day, and I hope you'll come back to my channel and follow along for more inspiration for the keeper of the home.